Hello and welcome to the Faces of Africa Pocket Edition, where we dissect and discuss the topics covered in our weekly documentary show, which takes you through the continent's history, cultures, and major issues through exploring great personalities.
This week on Faces of Africa podcast, it's all about sports. We are airing a documentary on the Maasai Cricket Warriors and also talk about the ongoing Olympic Games in Paris, France. I'm Jeff Muthee and I'm joined by
Saddique Shaban. Jeff, thank you for having me.
Definitely. So Saddique, tell me, have you watched the Faces of Africa documentary on the Maasai Cricket Warriors?
Hey, yeah, brilliant. The production is A1, the content, flowing very well.
Correct.
Having these guys on global media station.
Correct.
Discussing issues that is in it in the sport.
Yes.
These guys are using that cricket, of course, to talk about issues like conservation, female genital mutilation. There's also biting drought in that area.
Yeah.
So going there and doing that documentary, by Faces of Africa, just puts these people on a very vantage position. Those issues coming to fore.
Not every time you see Maasai's playing cricket, that was very different. It's like bringing together of two different cultures, the cricket and the Maasai culture. What's your take on it?
Looks like winter in Africa, Jeff, for some sort.
Right?
Because you don't get to see, cricket. And Kenya is not such a big cricket nation, by the way.
Yes.
I think very few people remember Kenya co-hosted with South Africa the 2003 Cricket World Cup, ICC Cricket World Cup. And that was the last time really Kenyans saw something very big about the cricket team. Yes. I'm afraid over the years, the cricket team hasn't done very well. Okay. They've had leadership wrangles over the years. Yes. But then something very fresh comes out of the game, away from the politics and the politics of mismanagement, so to speak. Yes. You go to a place like Laikipia and you see Maasai is playing cricket.
I know. Let's switch gears and talk about the Olympics, because the Olympics are happening right now. How is Africa faring on?
The Olympics proper began for Africa this week with the finals of many athletics events. We've seen top African athletes, competing. We have the likes of Uganda, who have already won a medal. Kenya, the women's 5,000. Uganda men's 10,000 meters. We also have South Africa, who won gold in swimming.
Okay.
And Tunisia, a 17-year-old, in gymnastics, artistic gymnastics.
Yes.
It's never happened. It's the first time ever in the history that an African winning medal of any color in artistic gymnasium. And that is just a small part.
Just picking up on the point that we've raised about an Algerian winning an Olympic medal in gymnastics. Africa is not known for such sporting disciplines, right? Why doesn't Africa, is it the infrastructure? Is it that we only concentrate on a very narrow sporting bandwidth, or what's that all about?
We've never really looked beyond athletics for some reason to diversify here. Most of these sports also require a lot of investment and infrastructure. Qualifying for these events is really expensive, and most of these qualifiers sometimes are held outside Africa. So you find that a lot of African federations and governments may not put that much money to take people, for example, to go and qualify in Europe.
Do you think these other continents are way ahead of Africa and we're playing catch up?
I think the standard for sports in Africa really is low. We don't have a lot of sponsorship, infrastructure. And in some areas, the political instability has made it very difficult for sport to thrive. And then the issue of corruption is endemic in Africa. We've had, for example, in countries where money meant for development of sport has been misappropriated.
Let's come back to Kenya. There was a bit of controversy with the 5,000 meters with our very talented Faith Kipyegon and the Ethiopian athlete. The Ethiopian nearly costed Kipyegon her medal. Is that her standard of running? Because this is not the first time she's doing that, or what was happening about that? Your thoughts?
The Kenyan Olympic officials went and lodged an appeal against the initial disqualification of Faith Kipyegon. The technical foul here was characterized as obstruction.
Okay.
But upon review of the conduct of athletes on that lane, it was deemed that was not obstruction. It was a general push and pull that were eliminated and got Faith in a catch-22 situation. She would have stepped out of the track and got disqualified.
Yes.
But as you say, this is not the first time.
Yes.
Again, Godaf Segai had a blistering race at the 2023 World Athletics Championship in Budapest against against Sifan Hassan. And
Correct.
many people remember that Sifan Hassan tumbled with just 10 meters to go.
Yes.
There was no penalty in that. I mean, the technical officials didn't punish her at the time. But then again, for Faith, it was a restoration of faith.
Yes.
Faith in that medal and faith in the fact that she still has 1,500 meters to run. She is a world record holder.
Correct.
She's the Olympic champion over the distance, going for her third medal in this event.
Yes.
And she now says with that appeal, successful, then she will compete, favorably in 1,500 meters.
Now, let's switch gears slightly and talk about, we've seen a lot of athletes that were born and bred in Africa and Kenya, for instance, competing for other nations. We have Yavi, who's competing for Bahrain.
Yeah, Wilfred Yavi. Wilfred Yavi is the current steeplechase champion.
Yes.
She comes from Kenya, Machakos County here. So, very close to the capital city, Nairobi.
Yes.
She's just one of the many athletes who have changed allegiance over the years.
Why? Is it because of corruption? Is it that we don't appreciate our athletes? What causes these people to just leave their birth country and go compete for other nations?
Better prospects, Jeff. If better prospects, better opportunities, but importantly, making the Kenyan team to the World Championship, the Commonwealth, the African Championship, and the Olympics is probably one of the most hardest things that athletes have had to do, because it's very competitive. There is a lot of talent coming in through the ranks every time, and even seasoned athletes must fight for their place in the team. It doesn't matter if you're the defending champion, it doesn't matter if you're the holder of the record, you have to come and compete against the rest. This thing began way in early 2000 when Stephen Cherono, formerly of Kenya, known later as Saif Shahin Shahid,
Yes.
went to Qatar after competing for Kenya at the 2002 Commonwealth Games in Manchester.
Yes.
And Kenyans were caught off guard because this is a person who competed for Kenya at the Commonwealth the
Yes.
previous year. The next year, he was competing for Bahrain. And over the years, we've had many Kenyans not just going to Bahrain. We've had Kenyans going to Romania.
Yes.
We've had Kenyans changing allegiance to the US.
Yes.
We've had Kenyans running for other countries. And so they're looking for better prospects of life, winning medals. And by the way, for the adopted countries, if you win a gold medal, you really get rewarded very, very handsomely. We are talking about financial rewards. We are talking about, assets being given to you.
But Saddique, I want to differ slightly with you. You said most of them change because of the rewards that they get. What if Kenya or the African nations just tried to match what the other countries...
It's impossible. It's actually very impossible. You cannot, for instance, compete with countries that have natural resources, minerals and oil. For example, petrol oil. And these are people who can afford to give you, for example, if you win a gold medal in one of these countries, I'm not going to mention a country, for one of the Kenyan athletes who went abroad told us one time that if you win a gold medal in those countries, you are likely to get up to $200,000.
That's an amount Kenya can afford.
And
Kenya is wealthy.
Up to $1 million in some instances. So can you imagine winning $1 million, for just winning a gold medal over 100 meters or over 200 meters or even over 3,000 meters steeplechase? We are talking about 9 or 10 minutes of work that will earn you $1 million. You can never get that money in Africa in your entire lifetime. Then add that with a lifetime stipend. These guys are paid stipend or pension every month for the rest of their lives.
Okay.
So you're getting, for example, Jeff, you're getting $50,000 every month, or $10,000 every month, for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
That is a lot. And already you've been naturalized. You have a residency there. Your family is taken care of. So the allure of money and better life on the other side would even make me change my own allegiance.
Yeah, again, not to belabor the point, Saddique, but I believe with proper organization and the money that a country like Kenya has, we can be able to make our athletes comfortable. You want to tell me we cannot be able to do that?
We are doing that, Jeff, but using sort of, if you like to call it reverse psychology. This is what Kenya is doing now. After learning of the talent flight by top athletes over the years.
Correct.
What they have done now is that they are offering Kenyan athletes employment with the discipline forces.
See?
Not just any other job where you can put in your resignation letter tomorrow and leave. They make you an officer of the law, either with the Kenya Defense Forces, the Kenya Police. So that means they tie you down here.
Yes.
Number two, they have the Kenya now, for instance, has a reward scheme where if you win a gold medal, you get about 500,000 Kenyan shillings.
See?
How much dollars is that? About $30,000?
Yeah,
about 35,000. About $35,000,
yes.
okay?
Plus, give or take.
And then anybody else also who wins silver gets something,
Yes.
about 60% of that.
Yeah.
And new one, which was also recently introduced,
Yes.
a house in Nairobi. An
There you go.
affordable system, a house in the an affordable housing scheme by the government.
Yes.
So Faith Kipyegon, for example, I'll tell you, recently got 5 million Kenya shillings
Yes.
for setting the world record
Correct.
in 1,500 meters.
Yes.
She also got a house here in Nairobi,
Yes.
which was given to her by the government. And the government of Kenya said anybody also at the Olympics or the World Championship or the Commonwealth
Correct.
who wins gold
Yes.
will also get similar treatment. But do you think that's enough, Jeff?
I think it's a start. It's a good start. I think it's a good start because it had to take the talent drain, quote unquote, for them to wake up and smell the coffee and see we need to treat our athletes better.
But unlike other countries, Kenya has enormous talent supply, which comes up every time. We have more athletes than we know. In fact, at this point, Jeff, we are registering athletes because we do not have a national database of athletes. So you don't have to worry about one person going away. For everyone that goes, there are probably 10 others coming to fill that spot.
Oh, interesting. Finally, what should we expect in the coming days in the 2024 Olympic Games, Saddique, as we come to the end of our podcast?
For Africa, this could be a springboard for 2028 Olympic Games in LA. We may or may not get to the target, but I foresee individual brilliance from some African athletes. For Africa, not too much expectation this time. Let's see what we can get as a springboard to 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, the US.
Thank you so much, Saddique. Asante sana.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me.